one of the things that maybe we can know, one is the ethical part and using of AI to understand people's emotions. But one observation that I've had, when you deal with youngsters day in and day out, and quite a lot of them, right? And all of them are youngsters, all of the same age, is the fact of mood-based performance. That's another, what's called the Gen Z kind of a concept, right? That I will only study if I am in the mood.
I feel the vibe.
I feel the vibe, yes. I feel the vibe, right? So one is the ethics part, the other is the performance part, right? So if I'm going to use whatever technology or even the simplest technology of an emoticon to allocate tasks, right? Will that work? What kind of changes we have to make in our organizations to do that?
No, I'll take that question. I mean, most of the things which you talk resonate with me, and what Sabita talked about mood-based. I think most of the technology guys will understand, and we have our own platform on mood-based. We did our own, we developed our own platform. So it's been quite, at least 5-6 years we've been using that actually. So, Fido, those kind of apps are also there, so. But to answer your question, I was also actually pondering over this actually when we started this topic that, it sounds great that, mood-based, task allocation. Right. But I'm not sure how practical it is, because the genesis of this whole emotional tools is that we have been using without the privacy, laws in mind actually. So, at least as far as, current organization is concerned, we work in a very process-oriented, highly regulated environment also.
True.
So I'm not sure how, easy it is. It's easy because some of things are easy. In my early organization, we had a concept called benzene ring actually, or even a company called Dream11 if you look at.
Right.
Smaller groups, tend to join together to develop a product. And, Dream11 is one example where they have stated policy that if you don't like the project, you can move to some other project actually. So, things like that, if you have a, work environment is surrounded with that kind of, environment. So I think these kind of analytics might help actually, So, but otherwise in a process-oriented, regulated environment, it's pretty difficult in reality to, do a mood-based.
Absolutely. It reminded me of Calvin and Hobbes cartoons. I'm not in the mood.
But having said that, coming to the first part of that, where I was trying to look at it, more than this mood analytics, I think there are companies like, I'm not sure how many of you heard about companies like Emotibot or Affectivo, which predominantly, which actually recognize your human emotions through facial mapping and voice actually, eye tracking, those are things. Recently I read somewhere that one of the biometric entry, you don't enter without, smile actually. So that's a good one probably. Those are some of the things, some of the positives are there, but I think any initiative, plus and minus are there. But unless, what you mentioned is a very valid, but cultural, dimension has to be taken into account, especially country like India, which is pretty rich in culture, I think. So, diversity. So, somebody's no and things like that. And not only that actually, not just that part actually, but predominantly it's an engine actually, AI, right? How much it will understand the culture, I don't know how biased or unbiased it might be lead to in terms of the mood, because
it depends on how it's been
programmed. How it's been programmed, how the engine learns actually.
True.
If I learn something which is more religious or more spiritual, then I tend to say that, so I think
it can be relative too, right? It's about
it can be relative.
That's where the difference comes in actually. If you like the research, they say only facial analytics 7% accuracy. Then epidermal, your temperature and coding and your anatomy and your basically tone, tenor, everything put together, the current data says actually 77% accuracy.
That gives you much. So what you're not...
Only thing is how you are going to input. Actually, what you are going to collect is fine. How you are going to input.
I'm going to take a leaf out of what you said, sir. You're talking about Gen Z. I think in this room, I think most of us are either Gen X or baby boomers. We belong to a completely boomers. I'm yeah. And the future of the workforce that's coming in is Gen Z, right? And they're the people who are like all the time.
Swipe
There's
and
a
move,
shortage of attention which is there, and I think we can relate to staying at one task for a longer period of time.
Whether we like it or not.
Whether, yeah, exactly. At least we know we'll see it through. But you're walking into a whole generation who gets distracted in 30 seconds or a minute at best, and they don't have attention or focus. And how do you, I mean, you're going to, there's going to be a whole set of new problems based on that. And these analytics, you can say he's distracted. The analytics will come back and say he's a very distracted kid, but the whole generation is distracted.
How are you going to sort of read the workplace?
Right now, we are coming up with our observations based on millennials, right? So the whole generation where they feel privileged, and there's a whole set of characteristics and attributes towards them. What about Gen Z? Because I think that's probably what's more needs to be discussed.
And
to how does this group see the Gen Z?
Correct.
Because these are the people that you are training as managers who are going to manage that next lot which is coming, right? They've been trained by all of you, and they're going to manage the Gen Z workforce.
And let me just add one confusion to his thing, right?
Did I confuse you enough?
Boomers was almost like 30 years.
Yeah.
Millennials was about 10 years. Gen Z will be about 5 years. The next...
It's like every 3
It's alpha already.
AI would be like 2 years. So when you are using technology which captures so-called emotions which are so short-lived, how are you going to structure organizations?
But beyond this acceptance and resentment, I mean, what about the accuracy factor there? I mean, the point is, the larger question I...
It can be 70%. I think.
Yeah, the larger question I have, for instance, I'm not a psychologist, but I've gone through some of these tests myself, There's something called a DAS test, the depression, anxiety, and even a very heavily manual test like that. Apparently, they say that you need to repeat it probably once a week over a period of 3 months to even get to the right frame of mind of a person. And if you are going to look at facial recognition, twitching of an eye, for instance, as you very rightly said, Father, the eyes there should be wrinkles in the eyes, and I believe that really depends on the geography from where you come from. So that may not even may fail a very generic test. The only concern I have with emotional analytics, and I don't have an answer for this, is if we are going to be defining a set of parameters based on which we are going to delegate work, we're going to figure out a solution for their perceived problems. Some of them may be introverts, so we'll say that the emotional analytics tool is throwing up that these could be their problems, and then we're going to the kind of options in front of us at times even scares me, given the basis on which we are coming up.
Okay. So Raj, actually, what really happens is, this is not a single subject. They call it as affective computing, 1975. Anatomy. It's a science. Very opposite. Marriage is opposites. A lot of people come together. Sociology, anthropology, all put together. This is coming in. So you have to take it with a pinch of salt or a bunch of salt.
But I'm just sort of curious to imagine, as you had a point here. I mean, as we speak, I'm also sort of curious to sort of see, and basically flip it over the other side, and then imagine how this might, say, assuming it's come into play, right, and it is being sort of, adopted by organizations, what could be some of the realities that we will then, sort of face? For instance, today, you attend an interview somewhere, a candidate attends an interview, or they have worked in a certain organization as an employee, they go and write something in an ambition box, right? I mean, this is what the interview experience was like, this is what working there was like and everything. I'm thinking they're now going to sort of, also find ways to see what's a broad emotion pattern that runs in this organization, right? That's a good way to kind of know, because emotions won't lie. And I'm thinking, increasingly, I see the millennials and the Gen Zs definitely, they live what I kind of call as by the 9x3 model, 9 months of slogging, 3 months of sailing. That's what they want to do, right? So the idea of committing to an organization is very short term, right? So the 9 months I'm going to be, I'm just, calling it as 9 months, it could be 12 months, 14 months, whatever, but you don't see people sort of having sustained periods of, working in an organization, like 3 years, 4 years these days, and that's normalized. So if I am going to choose to be in a workplace for 12 months or 14 months, and I choose to feel happy at that time, I want to see what's the broad emotion pattern that's running in the here and now for that organization. I'm thinking those could be some of the ways in which demand for the tool could actually get driven into the workplace. So is it that the organization, the HR is choosing to drive it? Or is it that your candidate and your employee community is going to be saying that, hey, we want to see this at play, and of course, if there are ways by which we can, like you said, culturally we know that maybe if you're some parts of the country, you're not going to laugh loudly. In some parts of the country, you're just going to, you're going to hold back resentment in a very different way, and dissent is different, right? Some places are vocal, some places they're not. But I'm just thinking, would that be something that a candidate's going to ask us now? Like, hey, imagine in campus interviews, right? First tell me your emotion score at your organization, then I will decide on the offer, right?
Let's not, mood is very transient thing.
Right.
That's not the point I'm really worried about. Let's look at the data. Okay, in Harvard Business School, 80% of the students, within the stay of 2 years, they go through depression.
While
80%.
still in the campus,
Huh?
yeah. While still on campus over the 2 year
Well,
period.
the 2 years
Right,
of the campus,
they're already going through it.
80%. And I'm not going to name Harvard outside, so India I am giving you. In one of the premier school, within 1 year time, 28 students made an attempt of suicide,
Oh, gosh.
which is an alarming number. The only good thing is they are so pathetic, 1 in 4 should have been dead. That is the statistics. But 28, luckily no one died. See, this is the deeper problem when it comes to emotional analytics.
Correct. Is there actually
I
wide
fully
prevalent
understand
loneliness?
every test we have, nothing can predict even 80% accuracy. Maximum in MBTI, 16 PF, these are all very classical tests. Even they have only 70%. So the whole point is monitoring and advising the person will resent. You have to understand, psychological problem and medical problem are two different things.
Of course.
When medical problem, they seek help. When psychological problem, they avoid help.
They're often silent, yeah.
So you, all the more you monitor, you are going to irritate them. The whole point is conduct workshop as many as possible. The moment a student, in my case student, trusts you, he will come and talk to you. That is the time we can help. The moment you say you need help, they will resent you. That is the typical psychological
Correct,
problem.
yeah.
Okay, so I understand cultural variation is there, but there are some analysis like eye movements. It's not culturally conditioned, it is universal. That's neuro-linguistic programming, they use it. The only cultural group who is deviant from that analysis is Basque community, the Spanish.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Okay, their eye movements doesn't take place at all. And that is one of those guy only started Jesuit order, Saint Ignatius. Okay, so our deeper problem is that.
Right.
Going by what you're saying, sir, that's a very human intervention, right? For you to be, it's about more empathetic. You're trying to create a culture around it, but then how does that help in bringing about a certain technological intervention? That's very. So we are talking about technology here coming into the space of emotions, right? Out of which we're going to derive data. So we need to try and see it being controlled in a certain leash, because you cannot allow it to go in a little more deeper.
How do you regulate it?
How do you regulate it? Regulation is very, very important as far as this is concerned.
I think beyond
I would extend that
regulation,
actually, rather than what actually, how do you institutionalize it? It's not individual based and institutionalized. See, the way, HR professionals handle employee engagement now and 5 years back is completely different. Compensation benefit philosophy, performance management philosophy, everything is completely different. Just because we are catering to a new generation. So whatever help comes in any form, scientifically tested and proven, whether it is emotional analytics, IAs or engines, app, we should take it and try it. So that as long as it is corroborative and helpful,
So
I think we should
that's what
utilize.
I was also referring when Professor was talking. Actually, even the listening time has come down. People don't have time.
Right.
Even to, you said that we probably have to talk more than that, but which is perfectly right actually. But I am not sure how many, especially in the gig economy, especially with this Gen Z or whatever. I mean, people just don't come for a meeting, or they don't have time even to participate, and it's
Which
become
is
that
interesting, yeah.
which is
because,
become, it's
yeah.
natural. It's becoming that I just want to work from wherever I want. Just that's all. I mean, I don't need HR. I don't need any long
I
speeches.
mean, today OK
that
is been condensed to K.
Yeah, that's
what
right, exactly.
People like K.
Right.
But and it's interesting you bring that up, because I was at at a workshop where the presenter actually, they were discussing a topic, and so she came with a PPT which basically had no verbal content, right? Her cues were just 6 images, and I'm sure the speaker had her notes, but then it just spawned the conversation. So I think sometimes it's about, figuring out how you use say information that could come through this to understand what your people are going to be more receptive to, and then perhaps catering in that style, right? While ensuring that you still probably drive your desired outcomes in terms of, say, engagement or whatever. I think Father George brought a very good point in terms of today the challenge is about loneliness. And while people may not, I think, prefer, people are so private these days, and they don't like it, but still maybe if someone just sends you a bunch of your friends just sent you a smiley, or your teammates just sent you left candies on your table, maybe that's a way of sort of expressing today that, hey, we're there, buddy, we look out for you.
But that's the irony, Lakshmipriya, because we are talking about a generation that's lonely, and but we are talking about the same generation having grown up in a world of Instagram and Twitter where everything is public.
Correct.
No, it's
Correct.
actually,
Yeah.
it's very
That's
interesting
true.
that you bring that up.
It's a very interesting
interesting that you
contradiction,
bring
right?
it.
And
Yeah.
Also, the latest emoticons can get you into trouble.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
You don't know which
share an
emoticons to
experience
use.
quickly,
That's what I
on the same note. See, we've extensively used Hogan tools for assessment, especially for leadership. And now you have one, all the attributes, there's a dark side.
Great.
So why we brought the Hogan thing was, it is of course expensive, so we couldn't do it across the organization. We ensured that as part of assessing somebody's readiness for the next role, we wanted to be sure that the guy or girl, the lady or the gentleman is capable of handling complicated teams, distributed workforces. And we ensured that their psyche cap was calculated. So we're talking a little early in this conversation as to how do you, quantify this. So we quantified it, and it came out extremely well. And I was very impressed with Hogan. I'm not trying to market Hogan here, but I myself went through it and was very surprised that I got 99.8% on the thought leadership. So I said, wow. So the guy called me and he said, this is the highest in your organization. And I couldn't do much. I wish I could go to my boss and say, hey, look, give me a promotion. But who were not actually aligned with the teams, and were the reason why the teams quit.
There's a correlation that you could find.
So we realized that this is something that needs to be addressed. The psyche cap value, which Hogan threw up to us after 3 different tests were conducted. And you have those inbuilt lie detectors anyways in all these tests. But it came out so beautiful that in the team which had the maximum attrition, we saw that the managers of those teams had a very low psyche cap, which is the jargon they have for psychological capital. So psychological capital is again calculated, inbuilt. I really don't know how to calculate it, but it came through basis certain questions and certain answers, which were all brought together by the system. So the tool did it for us. Yet another example to say that if you use a tool and design it and use it with a meaningful outcome, I'm sure it is helpful. See, in '99 when people spoke about artificial intelligence, many of us would have laughed. I did. So what do you mean by artificial intelligence? Today we have no choice. We have to live with artificial intelligence, AI. So my view is someday in the distant future, an emotional analytical tool is definitely going to stay and probably become more prevalent.
Most of you have seen Shashi Tharoor's AI interviewing Shashi Tharoor, right? I was wondering maybe we can use this tool in the future where an important address has to be given by the chairman, and he is not in a great mood, maybe the AI version can do that.
And the emotional analytical tool will tell that the chairman is not in a good mood.
Maybe we can ensure that.
But Facebook has already started. Like you're feeling loved, you're feeling awesome with someone. So you're already
because
there. You know
so
that.
many people are waiting to hear across the globe. Just for one guy's bad mood, why should they lose? Let the AI version do the tool.
And there is one app is coming up with 3 alumnus of XLRI. They are in US. Exactly technology bringing in. AI driven. This is no question answer like nothing. It's more thematic upper perception test. So we are going to use it mainly because they are alumnus, they are not charging us.
Good one,
All the students, and that will throw up the data.